On Saturday morning, Zhao Yao was on his way to neutering his cat. In the cat bag in his hand is a yellow civet cat, also called an orange cat, a type of pastoral cat. The head, back, and limbs are covered with layers of yellow-orange markings. The chest and stomach are a large patch of fluffy white hair, and the tips of the limbs are white. And it is said that this snow-white love has a second killing effect on girls, controlling their brain waves and making them make Although it is a male cat, it has big eyes and looks very girly. At this time, the cat was letting out a heart-rending howl, and Zhao Yao reaped the highest return rate since birth. The vast majority of domestic cats are very, very homely, and are only willing to stay at home for the rest of their lives, and moving or going out is a very scary thing for them. Zhao Yao only kept comforting the cat. At the same time, outside the Earth's atmosphere, a faint meteor slowly crossed outer space and gradually flew over China. The surface of the meteor shimmered with a strange luster, as if it was constantly releasing some kind of rays towards the surrounding void. In the Star Pet Hospital, Zhao Yao put the cat bag at the front desk. The male cat was neutered. He had made an appointment before, and his surname was Zhao. You haven't been to us before. You look at the record, and you need to fill in the information field of the medical record card. The young nurse at the front desk handed Zhao Yao a medical record card. Host Zhao Yao, pet name Matcha, breed pastoral cat, age 12 months. Contact 15xxxxx. After filling out the medical record card, the little nurse opened the cat bag and began to check. What cute white gloves. The nurse gently touched the cat named Matcha and was about to carry him to weigh him. In outer space, the meteor slowly crossed the sky over the land of China, and began to move in the direction of the Pacific Ocean. At this time, Matcha suddenly moved, struggled to jump, and rushed towards the gate of the hospital. The little nurse let out an exclamation, but Zhao Yao on the side rushed out and grabbed the fleeing Matcha. Zhao Yao's speed was still too slow, and he couldn't catch Matcha's body, but only grabbed Matcha's tail. The tail was caught. Matcha let out a roar, and instinctively turned around and bit at Zhao Yao. This is the instinct of felines, and the speed is also extremely fast, and in an instant, a hole was opened on the back of Zhao Yao's hand, and Zhao Yao immediately let go of his palm as soon as the back of his hand hurt. Maybe he knew that he was in trouble, but Matcha didn't continue to run away, just curled up and looked at Zhao Yao with some uneasiness. Zhao Yao hugged the Matcha and said, "Silly cat, what are you biting? It's a rebellion, right?" The Matcha cat's eyes suddenly flashed a ghostly light, and the traces of blood stained on his teeth disappeared completely. Zhao Yao also felt that his head was suddenly dizzy, and then he wanted to see if the wound on the back of his hand was deep, but he was slightly stunned at this time, only to see that the back of his hand was smooth, and there were no wounds and bloodstains. The little nurse on the side took cat and comforted Matcha obediently. "It's okay, it'll be fine in a while, don't be nervous." She weighed the cat and placed it on the operating table. Meow! This cry was heard in Zhao Yao's, but it was not a simple cat made. It became an intelligible word. "Don't cut the balls, the eggs hurt, and the eggs meow." Zhao Yao pointed to the Matcha in front of him in shock, and said with a look of surprise, "This cat." The little nurse looked at Zhao Yao suspiciously and said, "Mr. Zhao, are you okay? Did you hear?" Zhao Yao hurriedly said, "It's talking." The little nurse's brows furrowed, and her gaze became more and more weird as she watched Zhao Yao. "Do you understand, meow? Take me home, woo woo woo. Scared to pee. Meow." Zhao Yao opened his mouth wide, looked at the little nurse who was unconscious, still comforting Matcha, and then looked at Matcha and said, "Can you understand me?" I can understand. I want to go home. Take me home, woo 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 woo." The little nurse on the other side turned her head and looked at Zhao Yao, who was talking to the cat, but her face became more and more weird. The hand that was bitten by a cat and was bleeding and instantly intact, as well as the cat that could talk and begged not to cut the eggs and wanted to go home. Everything was incredibly weird. Zhao Yao felt that he should go home immediately now to figure out what was going on with this cat. Ignoring the strange gaze of the little nurse, Zhao Yao quickly picked up the Matcha and stuffed it back into his bag, trotting all the way out of the hospital. The Matcha cat returned to the familiar environment and immediately relaxed. Lying on the coffee table and began to lick his little white hands, his eyes narrowed, and his face was leisurely. Licking is always a great way for cats to relax. In front of the coffee table, Zhao Yao stared at the Matcha cat in front of him, and said tentatively, "Can you still speak?" The Matcha cat immediately raised its head, and the plush cat had an innocent expression on its face, staring at a pair of big round eyes and meowing yes. Meow. As he spoke, he stood up and said with a look of eagerness, "Does the master want to play a game?" This and so on. Zhao Yao scratched the back of his head and said a little overwhelmed, "When did you learn to speak?" Matcha thought about it and meowed, "When I bit the master today, I suddenly felt that my head became a lot clearer, and then I was able to talk to the master." Meow. Looking at the innocent Matcha cat, Zhao Yao's face was weird. The Matcha cat didn't feel weird about the situation in front of him at all, and suddenly jumped into Zhao Yao's arms, squinted his eyes and rubbed Zhao Yao's body, and said in a milky voice, "Play games with me." Looking at the Matcha cat in front of him who was talking like a 5-year-old child, Zhao Yao touched the other party's head, and the latter purred in enjoyment. "You're only 1 year old, and you're only 5 years old." A smile appeared on the corner of Zhao Yao's mouth. "It's still a child, so it doesn't seem bad." A month later at 9 o'clock in the evening, Zhao Yao opened the door of the rental house with a tired face, took off his clothes casually, and sat down on the sofa. Although the rental house he lives in is only 30 square meters, it is fully decorated and home furnished. It is the house of a new-laid couple in the past, and it is very close to the company. so he does not have to worry about traffic problems when he works overtime every day. So although the rent is not cheap, it still makes Zhao Yao willing. After Zhao Yao lay down, the matcha cat unconsciously crawled beside him. Rubbing his affectionate and flattering, Zhao Yao smiled and rubbed Matcha's head, which showed an expression of enjoyment. But at this moment, the mobile phone on the sofa was also pushed by Matcha. Chapter. I saw that the webpage was opened on the mobile phone, and it was staying on the page of Taobao, which was full of all kinds of imported cat food and canned Zhao Yao. Help me buy some cat food. I'm tired of eating royalty. Matcha stared at Zhao Yao expectantly. However, Zhao Yao swept it slightly, looked at the random bag of imported cat food on it that cost 600 or 700, and immediately said, so expensive. No, it's too expensive. Scene. Matcha immediately widened a pair of round eyes, looked at the other party more and more pitifully and said, I read on the internet that whether cat food is eaten well or not is related to the life of the cat, and I eat the same cat food every day. I'm going to vomit. Buy me some imported cat food. As he spoke, he opened a pair of big eyes and kept rubbing Zhao Yao's palm. Zhao Yao still shook his head and said, it's too expensive. I can afford it. Let's wait until I raise my salary. If you really buy those imported cat food and cat snacks, matcha will cost dozens of yuan a day, which is too much burden for Zhao Yao now. Was rejected again, but Matcha immediately stopped the movement in his hand. His round eyes narrowed again, glanced at Zhao Yao, jumped off the sofa and walked to the bedroom. In the past month, Matcha's intelligence has grown rapidly, especially since learning to surf the internet. And it has changed from a 5-year-old innocent child to a 15-year-old rebellious teenager. Feeling the disdain in Matcha's eyes, Zhao Yao pulled the corners of his mouth and said, it's really snobbish. After resting for a while, Zhao Yao stood up and began to tidy up the room. Because of the relationship between raising cats, he needed to sweep the floor every day to clean up the cat hair on the ground, and at the same time, he also had to go to the cat toilet to shovel feces and throw it into a garbage bag and throw it away. However, when cleaning the cat toilet, Zhao Yao found that a small section of cat feces fell at the door of the cat toilet. Pinching his nose, he threw this small piece into a garbage bag through several layers of toilet paper, and then carefully wiped the floor several times with disinfectant. After doing all this, he immediately walked into the bedroom and saw Matcha lying on the bed with an old mobile phone in front of him. His little head was raised, a pair of eyes were concentrated, his small mouth was open, his pink tongue was slightly stretched out, and he was staring at the mobile phone in front of him with a cute face, and a pair of pink paws were constantly swiping across the mobile phone screen, and his little face was full of nervousness. Zhao Yao stepped forward, glanced at the phone screen, and said, playing Glory of Kings again. Well, why are you pulling out of the toilet again? Do you know how troublesome it is to clean up? Zhao Yao said angrily, got it. I won't pull the outside next time, Matcha said nonchalantly, her eyes glued to the screen from beginning to end. Seeing the other party's leisurely game, Zhao Yao was even more angry in his heart, and said, this is the first time this week. How many times have I told you? Come out again after you pull it clean. Don't run out in a hurry after pulling a lump, got it? Matcha said while manipulating the mobile phone, who called the toilet so dirty. There is no place to put your feet. When will you buy me an automatic cat toilet? I see that many cats on the internet have used it. Zhao Yao tugged at the corners of his mouth. That thing is unreliable. How can there be environmental protection by shoveling every day? And let me check your health. Matcha flicked its tail. Obviously there is no money. Where is the environmental protection of manual shoveling? And you take it to farming to call it environmental protection. It's like raising a son, and it's still the same Matcha as before. Zhao Yao's mind reappeared more than a month ago, the innocent, cute and obedient appearance of Matcha, and he couldn't help but miss it in his heart. Looked at the Matcha that was now obsessed with the glory of the king. He pursed his lips, stretched out his head to look at the screen, and saw the Matcha controlled Luban No 7 spinning all over the field, and was finally knocked to death by Sun Wukong with a few sticks. Then the voice of a teammate came from the phone. Luban is a fool. The start is sent to the present. Can elementary school students stop coming to deliver it? Do your homework obediently, stupid Luban. Please report Luban on our side after the end of the opposite one. Seeing these words, Matcha's tail flicked up in anger, and she began to type and curse back. Someone else took my head with technology. Why should I say that I will give it? Spicy chicken tank. Don't you know how to protect the back row? Zhao Yao, who saw this scene, was not surprised. In the past month, he found that Matcha is not only able to speak, can communicate with him so simple, and even for the world's cognition, his own IQ is increasing day by day. Even Chinese characters and pinyin are inexplicably understood. After learning to surf the internet and playing games, the changes in cognition and personality are even more powerful. And several experiments in a month also made Zhao Yao confirm some things, that is, except for Matcha. He couldn't communicate with other ordinary cats. It's the same with Matcha. All anyone except him hears is meowing, and the communication between them is not so much by sound, but by some kind of spiritual communication. Even if they don't speak, just think in their hearts, they can hear each other's hearts within 10 meters. On the other side, Matcha is still communicating eagerly with his teammates in honor of kings, and since Zhao Yao gave him his old phone, the cat has liked to play games. However, especially games like Glory of Kings, are still too unfriendly to Matcha's cat's paws, which makes him often control mistakes. 9 out of 10 games are lost, and the only one that wins is still lying. which also leads to him still being stubborn bronze. Zhao Yao glanced at the other party's screen. It was already 2:12 behind, and silently mourned for Matcha's teammates. Zhao Yao shook his head, changed his clothes, tidied up the room, watched TV for a while, and unconsciously arrived at 12 o'clock. Zhao Yao yawned and returned to the bedroom to get ready to sleep, only to find that Matcha had changed its position, lying on the bed in a herringbone shape, still playing with his mobile phone. Zhao Yao sighed, frowned, and urged, "It's 12 o'clock. How long do you have to fight? Get ready to sleep." Matcha didn't raise her and said with a look of disdain, "Are you stupid? Lao Tu's a cat, so he doesn't need to sleep at night." Chapter 1003. Zhao Yao patted Matcha's head and took away his phone with an expressionless face, causing Matcha to meow wildly. "Okay, go to bed now. You're going to play tomorrow and get up and play." "Don't," Matcha screamed, and the whole person stood up suddenly, hugged Zhao Yao's calf and cried, "Let me finish this game. Please Zhao Yao, I am about to win this game." Zhao Yao pulled the corners of his mouth and pulled the cat on his calf away little by little. "No. You will be blind if you fight during the day and at night every day. That's it, please. Zhao Yao." Matcha opened her big bright eyes and looked at Zhao Yao with a pitiful expression. "If I hang up again in this game and be reported, I will be." Zhao Yao looked at the Matcha that was holding his calf and rubbing it with the cat's head, and said helplessly, "That's it." Banzai, looking at the Matcha that was concentrating on the glory of the king again. Zhao Yao rolled his eyes and lay on the bed, probably because he fell asleep in a daze. In the haze, Zhao Yao only felt that the whole world seemed to shake, and a furry thing kept sweeping around his face. The next moment, his eyes opened suddenly, and he could feel the whole house shaking violently. The crystal lamps on the ceiling kept shaking, and the things on the tables and chairs fell to the ground. Matcha is constantly squeezing his face with a pair of front paws. "Get up, Zhao Yao!" He was stunned for a moment because he had just woken up from sleep, and in the next second, Zhao Yao sat up suddenly, grabbed the Matcha and wanted to run out. But at this moment there was a crisp click, and the crystal lamp on the ceiling suddenly broke. The crystal chandelier in this bedroom was installed by the hostess of the house, weighing dozens of catties, and it smashed down towards Zhao Yao at this moment. Even if he didn't die, he would probably be seriously injured. And the distance between the lamp and the person made Zhao Yao completely unable to resist, and it smashed in front of his eyes almost instantly. At this critical moment, Matcha's pupils suddenly shrank, and the black pupils suddenly shrank to a point the size of a pinpoint. Then in Zhao Yao's incredible gaze, the crystal chandelier was directly still in front of his eyes, only a centimeter away from the tip of his nose. If Zhao Yao observes he can find that at this moment it is not only the crystal chandelier, but even the shaking tables and chairs, the falling water glasses, and the shaking buildings. Everything in this world has fallen into a standstill, leaving only him and Matcha still able to move. At the same time, Zhao Yao's pupils also contracted suddenly, and the countless information in his brain seemed to be rubbed and squeezed together by a pair of invisible big hands, and then kept stirring. Subconsciously took a step back, and when Zhao Yao reacted again, the crystal chandelier had already fallen to the ground, and it turned into countless fragments with a thud. Just what happened? I don't know. When it started, the building stopped shaking. Zhao Yao and Matcha looked blankly at the broken crystal lamp on the ground. After a while, a smug smile appeared on the face of the Matcha cat. "Zhao Yao, I have awakened my superpowers. I've awakened my superpowers! Ha ha, Matcha, my god." Zhao Yao pulled the corners of his mouth and exhaled, only to feel that his brain was in chaos, looking at the excited Matcha on the side, still recalling what had just happened, and in his mind, all kinds of desires, information and inexplicable powers gathered together, and finally slowly unfolded, turning into the appearance of a book. I didn't have time to think too much for the sake of safety. Zhao Yao still walked out of the building with Matcha first to see if the earthquake was over. Standing in the open space of the community with a large group of residents, all around was the sound of chattering and exclamation. "Is there an earthquake in Shanghai? What, are you kidding? The last time I felt an earthquake here was decades ago. Right, why am I so unlucky?" Zhao Yao put the Matcha on his shoulder, and he clicked on the web page with his mobile phone and began to inquire about the relevant information. In just a few moments, a strong tremor was felt in the entire Shanghai urban area, and although it did not cause any casualties, it also caused a panic. However, compared to the inexplicable earthquake, what Zhao Yao is most interested in now is the moment when the crystal chandelier hovered in mid-air before, as well as the strange books in his mind. Is it really a superpower? Superpowers. Matcha squeezed Zhao Yao's shoulders with her pink little paws and said excitedly, "Lao Tozu is a god." Zhao Yao glanced at Matcha with disdain, and continued to communicate with the other party in his heart. "The first thing to determine is whether this is your ability, or mine, and what kind of ability it is." Fearing another earthquake, Zhao Yao and Matcha stayed in the community square until the next morning, and during these hours, they also kept trying out what their superpowers were. After a few hours of summarizing and trying, Zhao Hao's eyes were full of excitement at the moment. Matcha stood on Zhao Yao's shoulder, and her tail wagged excitedly. "Haha, I'm invincible. Time stops." It turned out to be really a time stop. Zhao Yao's hands trembled, and he felt that his legs were about to weaken. The next moment, he directly activated his ability, and his mind kept thinking about the idea that time was suspended and all matter fell into standstill. With the movement of his mind, in an instant, the whole world except for him and Matcha fell into stillness. Whether it was the wind and clouds in the sky, The grass and trees on the ground, the pedestrians walking on the road, the insects in the garden, everything fell into stillness. Only Zhao Yao and Matcha were not affected at all. 3 seconds. Everything returned to normal. Matcha covered her face with a pair of fleshy claws, twisted her body and shouted ha ha, ha ha ha, Zhao Yao, we are invincible. 3 seconds. This is the time that Zhao Yao and Matcha can stop now. And every time they stop for 3 seconds, they have to rest for 3 seconds before they can stop for 3 seconds again. With a duration of 3 seconds and a cooldown of 3 seconds, Matcha and I can both cast it, and we share this ability. After Hez used it for 3 seconds, I'm going to have to rest for 3 seconds before I can use it. Sharing his duration and cooldown, Zhao Yao touched his chin and said, I tried to separate from Matcha for a kilometer, and it didn't affect it at all. Or both parties could stop from time to time. I just don't know if I can improve through exercise and I can use this ability, and what is the consumption, although there are still many things that have not been clarified. Zhao Yao is still excited at the moment, and this book. Zhao Yao's heart moved, and he focused his attention on the book in his mind. Chapter 004 Unexpected Situation. The cover of the book is pure black. And when you turn the first page, there are lines of large characters engraved on it, which are Bog LV1 100, Pet I want to win Matcha, Level LV1 to Hunt Law 100, Abilities Time Pause, Duration 3s. There is a small plus sign behind the pet's level and ability, but now it is grey. Zhao Yao's heart moved, and he wanted to turn the page, but he felt that the whole book was shrouded by an invisible force, and he couldn't turn the page at all. But he could see the words Mission, Diamond Hall, Evolution and Breeding from the label on the side, but he couldn't open it anyway. Looking at the introduction in the book, the curiosity in Zhao Yao's eyes became more and more intense. According to my test with Matcha, his ability is indeed exactly the same as what is written in the book. So Shizhu is the ability of this stupid cat. Hez LV1. And my billing the process of converging countless information, desires and emotions in his mind into this book. Zhao Yao suspected that this book was his true ability, and that time should be Matcha's ability. Didn't sleep for a day. And then Zhao Yao took a day off to rest, called the landlord to repair the chandelier in the bedroom, and decided to go to work the next day. What the superpower will do needs to be planned well. This superpower will obviously bring him endless benefits, but it is also likely to cause others to covet it, so he plans to maintain the original appearance of his life for the time being, and maintain a normal heart. The next morning, Matcha was lying on her side on the couch, grabbing a handful of dried fish with one paw, stuffing it into her mouth, staring intently at the TV with big eyes on which the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was playing. Seeing the character in the center exert the ability to stop at times, his pupils contracted slightly. Oh, there is still this kind of usage. After speaking, I saw a flash of small dried fish in the bowl, and the next moment it had teleported to the mouth of the Matcha. Apparently he used his supernatural powers, throwing the small dried fish into his mouth in a time that looked as if he was fetching something from the air. Zhao Yao walked out of the bedroom and saw the Matcha lying on the sofa, and said helplessly, you have eaten too much. Look at your current appearance, you are getting fatter and fatter. Beware of fatty liver and high blood pressure in the future. Matcha rolled her eyes. Please, Lao Tzu is an orange cat, and he will grow meat when he drinks saliva. Zhao Yao couldn't help but roll his eyes. If you are so fat that you can't even lick your ass in the future, don't expect me to wipe it for you. Having said that, Zhao Yao couldn't help but touch Matcha's head. The latter narrowed his eyes, showed an expression of enjoyment, and said harder, harder, while petting the cat. Zhao Yao thought in his heart, 3 seconds of time stop. If the application is reasonable, there are many ways to make money, but with minimal side effect. It cannot break the law and not expose its ability. The specific method. Zhao Yao was already a little eyebrow raising and was still slowly considering it. But he also understood that if the time-stopping ability did not have too serious side effects and could always have it, his future would be infinitely broad. At 8:30, Zhao Yao went out on time, bought a bun at the entrance of the community, and then walked for 5 minutes to the downstairs of the company. The proximity to the company is the biggest reason why he rents this house. Zhao Yao's job is a programmer, and after graduating for a year, his salary is barely at the upper middle level among his peers. But although he doesn't have to worry about eating and drinking, if he wants to buy a house and a car in the big city of Shanghai, it is far from enough. So the first thing he thought of after discovering the ability to stop is to make a lot of money, buy a car and a house, and have a house of his own in this international metropolis. As soon as he came to the company and greeted his familiar colleagues, at that moment, a shadow came into his line of sight, attracting most of his attention at once. It was a girl with bright eyebrows and long hair. Her big eyes flashed like talking stars. Her white and tender skin was like a shelled egg, and her long straight legs attracted most of Zhao Yao's attention. Zhao Yao knew this girl, a new graduate from the company's personnel department. Her name was Song Jiyu, and it was said that she had just graduated from college this year and was a student at a nearby university. Watching the other party slowly walk into the office of the personnel department, Zhao Yao's mind was still hovering with the other party's shadow. He and the other party are actually not familiar with each other. But such a beautiful girl is always easier to get attention. Just looking at the other party's beautiful shadow can make Zhao Yao feel better. In fact, in addition to Zhao Yao's attention, several boys in the company have already begun to pursue Song Jiyu. However, although Zhao Yao also likes each other a little, after working for a year, he knows better what the basis of love and marriage is, so he has never dared to try. But at this moment, He has the ability to stop time, but his heart is flooded with different ideas. The next moment, the ability was activated, and time instantly entered a state of stop, looking at all the colleagues who were motionless and in a static state. The feeling in Zhao Yao's heart continued to fill out. Now I am no longer an ordinary person. Now I am capable enough to live the life I want. 3 seconds passed in a flash, and Zhao Yao looked at the world that had returned to normal, and his eyes flashed with confidence. At this moment, the book in Zhao Yao's mind shone brightly, and the page labeled with the task opened unconsciously. Then I saw that it read mission if you want to become stronger. Start by earn 1,000 coins within a month to pro-quality food for matcha, and no more poisoned food. Reward 10 XP, failure penalty 10 XP is deducted. Seeing the content of the task that suddenly appeared in the book, Zhao Yao's eyes flashed. But when he saw the mission target, help but scold, earn 1 million a month, why don't you tell me to rob it? There is also this deduction of 10 experience points. Matcha's experience value is now 0, and 10 points are deducted. So it won't be without superpowers, right? Or my book is deducted from 0 o'clock. Is it gone? Seeing the content of the task punishment, Zhao Yao immediately felt a deep malice, but after a little upset, Zhao Yao quickly reacted. Although 1 million is more, it is not completely impossible to rely on my ability to stop from time to time. After thinking about it, Zhao Yao already had some ideas in his mind, and he immediately opened the computer browser and checked the information on the internet. A moment later, he sent an email asking for leave, but looked at the leader's office and found that the other party did not seem to be there today. Looking at the time, Zhao Yao frowned. Forget it, let's go first. He has already made up his mind about how to earn 1 million. Thinking about it, it seems that the fastest way is only Macau. There are many ways to make money by adapting to the times, but gambling is probably one of the quickest, and Macau is the best place to gamble in the whole of China. Chapter 1005, The Problem of Money. So then Zhao Yao returned home, instructed Matcha to take good care of the house and then apply for a Hong Kong and Macau pass, book a plane ticket. Fortunately he had traveled to Macau, applied for a Hong Kong and Macau pass, and now he can do it on the same day. So he stepped on the plane to Macau this evening. At 9 o'clock in the afternoon of the same day, Zhao Yao's plane landed on time in Macau, walked out of the airport, and looked at Macau in the night, and a trace of nervousness flashed in his eyes. Gambling may be one of the most suitable means of making money quickly, and the safest place in China. The most fearless casino pit, people, I am afraid, is Macau. In this bright city, every day and every month, there are people who lose their money, and some people win millions or even tens of millions to take back. The most important thing is that the brand here is hard enough, and Zhao Yao doesn't have to worry about being cheated by the casino if he wins some money. Okay, it's up to this time. Taking the casino shuttle bus from the airport, Zhao Yao came directly to the Grand Lisboa Casino. As the largest casino hotel, the whole Grand Lisboa is full of a rich and compelling atmosphere, and the decoration, facilities and services are extremely luxurious. As soon as you get out of the car and walk into the casino hall, you can see people coming and going, packed with tables and gamblers. Lust, fanaticism, pain, despair, wealth, and beauty are all mixed together to exude a deadly charm. All casinos in Macau use Hong Kong dollars, which are exchanged for chips. Zhao Yao's family economic conditions are not good, and he has always been frugal in the 4 years of college, and he continues to work part-time to make money. Thinking about the past 4 years, he has been handing out flyers, working part-time in a bubble tea shop, and going to the company as an intern programmer in his junior and senior years. Zhao Yao is also emotional. After working part-time in college for 4 years and working for 1 year, Zhao Yao finally saved some money, but in the casino this money turned into 100,000 Hong Kong dollars in chips in the blink of an eye. In other words, if all the 100,000 chips are exhausted this time, his savings for several years will be wasted. So Zhao Yao was also very cautious at this moment. He didn't bet at the first time, but walked around the entire casino hall first. This hall is full of ordinary gamblers, and the project is mainly baccarat, and people can be heard almost all the time with excited or angry shouts, watching tens of thousands of chips being won and lost, and the chips on each gambling table were several times his monthly salary, dozens of times or even hundreds of times. Zhao Yao felt a feeling that money was worthless. Maybe the salary he could receive for more than 10 years added up, that is, the wins and losses of others. But this is all in the past, and now Zhao Yao, who has the ability to stop time, has a feeling of being at home in this casino. In a still space, Zhao Yao casually flipped over the cards on the table, looked at the plum 2 on it, smiled lightly and put it back. The next moment time flowed again, and no one could detect his flop movements. When I make up some principle, I can consider playing baccarat. Zhao Yao came to the roulette table. There were not many people at this table. There were only 4 or 5 men and women, and on the roulette wheel under their gaze, ivory balls kept jumping. The so-called roulette wheel is a roulette wheel with small squares. The wheel will rotate clockwise, and at the end of the betting time, the ball will pop in a counterclockwise direction and roll on the wheel, and finally stop in one of the small squares. The object of the game is to predict which color, number or combination of betting numbers the ball will land on. Among them, the odds of directly betting on the number are the highest 1 to 35, that is, you can win 35 times the bet, which is Joel. Seeing that the ball on the table was spinning more and more slowly, Zhao Yao walked to the position closest to the roulette wheel. His eyes narrowed, and he had already activated the time stop ability. I saw him quickly reach out and grab the ivory ball. press it hard and then withdraw his palm and stand in place. When time began to pass again, Zhao Yao had maintained his original movements, and the excited people around him didn't notice what was happening at all. I saw that the ball lightly hit the baffle, jumped twice in a row, and stopped in the small grid of the number 12. Several men and women immediately erupted in cheers and sighs. Naturally there were losses and wins, but even if the winner was just a combination of 1 to 2 or 3 to 1. If you want to lose 35 a lot, you really need a kind of luck against the sky. However, looking at the number of the ball hit, Zhao Yao frowned. In fact, just now he wanted to stop the ball above 15. But the first operation, there was still a mistake. There are a lot of baffles on the side walls, and the force of the rebound is a little more than you think. So then Zhao Yao stood at the roulette table, and did not bet, just watched the dealer bounce the ball again, and then played with the ball when it was about to stop. Chapter Zhou and 610 million. With several consecutive practices, Zhao Yao already knew that at this time, he was no longer using a one-time stop to get the ball, but 3 consecutive 1-second stops to play with the ball. This is also a trick that Zhao Yao discovered after continuous practice. Zhao Yao's time stop has a total of 3 seconds, which is said to last for 3 seconds and cool down for 3 seconds. It is actually as long as it lasts, and it has to be cooled for as long as it lasts, but the maximum time is 3 seconds. Now he splits the time stop ability into a second, and after casting it, he can cast it for 1 second and cool down for 1 second. In this case he can make 3 stops in a row and be sure where to place the ball. The first 2 times slowed down the speed and direction of the ball, and the last one was the final word, deciding the final position of the ball. Then he stood at the table for more than half an hour. Zhao Yao's skills became more and more proficient, and he was almost 100% sure of the location where the ball stopped, and then he planned to start betting. At this time there was only a middle-aged man and a middle-aged woman left on the roulette table. At this table, the middle-aged man seems to have lost a lot of money. His eyes are red and his eyes are bloodshot, as if he doesn't like anyone. He glanced at Zhao Yao, who had been standing still on the side, and said impatiently, "Boy, do you bet or not? Don't bet to see afar." I see that Lao Tu is upset. Zhao Yao smiled and said, "Next, why don't you go down?" As he spoke, he had pressed all the 10-10. Seeing Zhao Yao's movements, the dealers and middle-aged men and women showed a hint of surprise in their eyes, but it was only a hint of surprise. 100,000 won is above the Macau casino, not even a wave. But it is rare for someone to press it all on the roulette wheel. The man said, "Boy, are you crazy? Press the number. I don't know how to die." As he spoke, he threw another 5,000 chips. I pressed 1. The middle-aged woman on the other side also bet. I pressed a small order. After all 3 have placed their bets, the dealer places the ivory ball on the side wall of the roulette wheel and pushes the ball so hard that it spins along the side wall under the watchful eyes of the 3 men. Seeing that the ball was rolling slower and slower, Zhao Yao's eyes were staring at the ball, and there was already a cold sweat left on his back. The next moment, he had already activated the first-time timeout, and suddenly reached out and pressed the ball. Time resumed flowing, the speed of the ball dropped, and the impact began to bounce on the metal baffle. Zhao Yao stopped time again, and played again. With this flick the ball shot straight in the direction of 15, seeing the ball bouncing back and forth above 14 and 16. When the ball swept over the top of no 15, Zhao Yao had already activated the third time stop, pinched the ball in one breath and pressed it firmly on no 15. Time passed again, and at this moment, Zhao Yao's palms were already full of sweat. Looking at the small ball that stayed on the 15th, he exhaled violently. On the other side, the middle-aged woman at the gaming table had already let out an exclamation. The middle-aged man also looked incredulous. "Damn, 35 to 1. Isn't that a direct win of 35 million? The dealer's eyes also flashed with a hint of surprise, but he did not lose his temper, and he had seen too many gamblers who got rich overnight in the casino. I saw that the dealer looked at Zhao Yao politely and asked, "So do you want to continue, or withdraw money and leave?" Zhao Yao smiled. "Don't gamble today. You can deposit the money into the bank card, right?" "Yes sir." Zhao Yao has checked the information before. Macau won money and wanted to bring it back. Or use bank transfer. You need to go through customs with cash, and all major casinos have international transfer services for bank transfers, but you need to charge a handling fee. So then 2 bodyguards came to Josai. Zhao Yao and them took the chips to handle cash exchange and transfer. In the whole process, the casino staff was extremely skilled and plain, obviously used to this kind of situation of winning millions, and there was a mature process. "Sir, do you transfer all the money?" Zhao Yao said. "Leave me 1 million chips and transfer the rest." Because of the exchange rate and handling fees, when it came to Zhao Yao's bank card, 5 million Hong Kong dollars became 2.9. The manager on the side asked, "Hello sir, do you want to continue playing? If you want to go back, you can always contact us. We also have a helicopter transfer service here. You can fly directly from Macau to Zhuhai, or you can take you directly to the airport." Zhao Yao was still a little nervous after winning more than 3 million. He was still moving at full speed in the time stop before, just to ensure that his movements returned to the original state after the time stop was over. And he was afraid that others would slow down the camera to check him. But this way followed the staff of the casino down the process. He has been infected by the other party's sanity, calmness and skill. This money seems to him to be incomparably much, but in the eyes of these staff, it is too much. The other party has no hesitation at all, or has no intention of checking. Perhaps in the eyes of these staff, this amount of money is not even a wave in Macau. Zhao Yao smiled politely. "Just give me a VIP suit. I still want to go shopping again, after being sent into the suite. Looking at the luxurious and noble suite in front of him, Zhao Yao's whole body jumped up violently, and at this time, the excitement in his heart completely exploded. Thinking about the more than 2 million yuan in the bank, and looking at the 100,000 chips in his hand, Zhao Yao's breathing couldn't help but become heavy again. More than 3 million, he may not be able to save so much money after 10 years of work, and now it is only a few hours, and he has won more than 3 million. However, Zhao Yao looked at the task on the task panel, but it still did not show completion, and thought to himself, after earning so much he didn't finish it. Is it because he hasn't bought cat food to feed Matcha? After completing the task, Zhao Yao could have left here, but when he came to Macau, was he really satisfied with only 3 million? Looking at the million chips in his hand, a smile appeared on the corner of Zhao Yao's mouth. I won't play roulette in the future, but there are still 2 days which is enough for me to make a lot of money. Although he was extremely excited, Zhao Yao still maintained some sanity. Although the roulette wheel doubled fast, but there was a limit to the bet, and the odds were too low. If he kept winning, it would inevitably be high profile. On the contrary, it is a project like Baccarat, which completely controls winning and losing, and is not so high profile, especially now that he has a million chips. He can win a lot of money. Although the casinos in Macau are not afraid of him winning, if the win is too obvious, it will attract attention at that time, which Zhao Yao does not want. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the suite, looking at the bright lights of the night view of Macau outside the window, Zhao Yao has never been so confident and excited, and an illusion that the whole world is under control keeps coming to his heart. In the next 2 days, Zhao Yao mixed in the major casinos in Macau with the ability to pause time. He won more, lost less. Every time he won hundreds of thousands of dollars. He changed the table, won a few million to change the casino. 2 days passed, enough to earn more than 13 million yuan. In the early morning of the 3rd day, Zhao Yao, who was tired, sat in the airport hall, looking at the numbers in the bank balance on his mobile phone, with a happy smile on his face. Chapter 7 Return. In the past 3 days combined, he has won a total of more than 13 million yuan in Macau, which is money that ordinary people cannot earn in a lifetime. If it weren't for the fear that winning would be too noticeable, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to help but stay here and continue to make money. And the feeling of watching the numbers in his bank card go up is too tempting. As soon as he thought of these figures, Zhao Yao felt that the sleepiness on his body had been alleviated, and he couldn't sleep with excitement in his mind. However, sitting at the airport in the early morning and waiting for the plane at this moment also made Zhao Yao gradually calm down. After all, it is not a long-term solution to make money in casinos, and after this time, unless it is forced to do, it is better to use other methods to make money through formal channels. Zhao Yao thought of his own ability, as well as the possibility of upgrading in the book. He will only become more and more powerful in the future, and when the time comes, it will only be more than 10 million. What is it, however? He himself does not have the great ambition to dominate the world, lead the times, and change the flow of mankind, and has enough money to live the life he wants, which is enough for him now. 5 hours later, Zhao Yao's feet stepped on the ground of Zhonghai Airport, but he had just gotten off the plane and turned on his mobile phone, and the mobile phone rang impatiently. As soon as Zhao Yao picked up the phone, an angry female voice roared, "Zhao Yao, don't you want to do it? When the project is so busy, you give me 3 days off. Do you still have a little sense of responsibility? I tell you, if you don't come back, your bonus this month will be gone, and you don't want this year's year-end bonus. I'll give you an hour to come to my office to see me immediately." Zhao Yao was about to answer, but he had already hung up the phone over there, and shook his head helplessly. He knew that it was the phone number of his boss, their project manager Yuan Ying. The other party's temper was not very good. This time he took a 3-day leave when he was halfway through the project. He didn't open international roaming when he was in Macau, and he couldn't get through to his phone. This time the other party must have been angry. However, Zhao Yao doesn't care much about this. With 13 million cash in his hand, as well as the ability of infinite possibilities, he has long since stopped working in the company at this moment. Even if the other party really counts him as absenteeism and unilaterally terminates the labor contract with him, he doesn't care. Originally, I wanted to do it step by step, but the reason for this mission was that I had to make a lot of money quickly, so that I could enjoy life in advance. The origin of his money is clear. He is not a public servant, and the size of the amount cannot attract the attention of powerful people. Even if most people know, they can only sigh and say that he is lucky. So Zhao Yao planned to get into a taxi first and return home first, planning to see the situation of Matcha. But while he was waiting for the taxi, there was a shock under his feet, and the whole earth began to shake violently again. But this wave of earthquakes came and went quickly, and in a blink of an eye, the whole earth had returned to calm again. What the? Zhao Yao glanced at the chaotic crowd, and his heart was full of surprise. Another earthquake. However, this wave of earthquakes was very weak and did not have any impact, let alone delay Zhao Yao to take the car home. But as soon as he opened the door to his room, he saw the mess all over the floor. There were shredded toilet paper everywhere on the floor, cups, remote controls, and sockets that had fallen to the ground, and there were half-eaten cat food on the table, patches of transparent water stain, overturned teapots and vases. Pulling the corners of his mouth slightly, Zhao Yao said angrily, "Silly cat, you get out of here." As he walked, he had already inspected the living room, but after not seeing Matcha, he walked directly into the bedroom. "I saw that on the bed in the bedroom. A stall of yellow soft meat was like plasticine on the bed, the mobile phone was in front of me, and the charging cable was connected to the back, and the bed was full of cat food, which was obviously brought to bed by Matcha. Seeing Matcha playing with the glory of the king with a serious face, Zhao Yao was even more angry and said, "Silly cat, didn't I tell you to take a good look at the house? Look at what you've made your home look like." However, hearing Zhao Yao's complaint, Matcha just flicked his tail and said impatiently, "What can I do? I'm just a cat. You try to use your mouth and paws to open cat food, take toilet paper and plug in wires." As he spoke, the whole world suddenly fell into a standstill, and he saw Matcha suddenly sit up and click towards the mobile phone screen in front of him. When to stop playing? And this kind of operation, does it work? Zhao Yao, who saw this scene, was immediately shocked. But when he stepped forward, he saw that Matcha was playing a game, and it was simply with the help of the ability to stop and type frantically on the mobile phone. "Spicy chicken monkey, do you have a jungler knife or a yarn? The pit is better than Zhugliang. Can you not choose a hero who can't play in ranking? Li Bai on the opposite side. If it weren't for his teammate Spicy Chicken, Lao Tu would kill you until you retreated, and kill you with one shot in the later stage, several times in a. Each time the flow resumes over time, a word appears directly on the screen and is then sent out by Matcha. In the case of time stop, the glory of kings obviously cannot be continued, but after the time stop is over, the operation can be delayed and reflect together. This is used for typing, that is, after each stop, a row of typesetting is typed instantly. With this ability, Matcha can type super fast, and although it is 1 against 3 at the moment, it is not at all behind. But at the same time as he was scolding and playing games, Li Bai kills Luban, Li Bai kills Luban, Li Bai Spicy Chicken. Matcha's mouth let out a tiger-like roar, and her claws flicked rapidly, and the speed of typing increased. Looking at the world that fell into a stop from time to time, Zhao Yao scratched his chin and sighed in his heart. No wonder there are often sudden stops in the past few days. It turns out to be this guy at this moment. A Matcha let out a meowed at him and asked, "What's wrong?" Matcha shook her paw and said, "Hurry up, help me, I can't stand up. What's going on?" Zhao Yao immediately walked up, dragged Matcha's body, and hugged the other party. Matcha said, "Lying down for too long, my legs are numb." Zhao Yao tugged at the corners of his mouth and threw the fat cat to the ground. "Mayo!" Matcha flipped to the ground and shouted dissatisfiedly, "Hurry up and help me up, I haven't finished scolding yet." Zhao Yao glanced at the Matcha on the ground with disdain, left the bedroom directly, turned on the computer, and began to flip through the cat food on Taobao. Quality food. That should be the best cat food, right? Rummaged through Taobao and found a few of the most expensive cat food, canned cat food. Zhao Yao opened the search engine again, and began to search for those brands of cat food and canned cat reviews. After watching it for a long time, the more I looked, more complicated it became, with all kinds of different brands, different formulas, and different flavors. Zhao Yao knew for the first time that cat food was so exquisite. Chapter Zozen 8 Classification. Enough. Zhao Yao rubbed his head and sat in front of the computer, read more than a dozen popular science posts on the internet, as well as the introduction of various cat foods, and had a deeper understanding of cat food in general. The rise of the domestic pet market is not long, the history is too short, the quality of pet food is uneven, the source of ingredients is difficult to trace, and the proportion of various additives and chemical preparations is unknown, which belongs to the lowest end of cat food. The pet market abroad, especially in North America, has a much longer history and the quality of cat food is also higher. However, there are still differences, and the biggest difference is the ingredients used to make cat food. Because cats are in fact pure carnivores, the grains used in cat food are actually indigestible by cats, and vegetables only provide fiber to help digestion. So the higher the quality of cat food, the higher the meat content. The top cat food is often made of nearly 100% pure meat, which is pure and natural, and the ingredients can be traced. In addition, it is necessary to add a variety of trace elements and vitamins. After all, simply eating a certain kind of meat is not optimal for cats. Cats need enough trace elements, vitamins to maintain various functions of the body, especially. Every cat consumes a lot of taurine every day, which plays an important role in his heart, eyes, immunity, etc. Even beef cannot ensure adequate taurine intake, which requires additional taurine to be added to cat food. Of course, the price of such high-end cat food will be higher, but even with these top-notch cat foods, Zhao Yao still didn't know which one could be used to complete the task. After thinking about the more than 13 million in the bank card, Zhao Yao suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Brother is not bad for money now, just buy more, feed each of them and try it. As soon as he thought of it, Zhao Yao directly opened Taobao, directly selected 10 kinds of cat food with the best online evaluation, and bought a bag of each and sent it over. After doing all this, Zhao Yao finally breathed a sigh of relief. Just wait for tomorrow to send it over. Let this guy taste matcha. At this moment, the mobile phone rang again, and after looking at the dot display, Zhao Yao took the phone directly and said directly for the other party's stormy exit, "Sorry leader, I plan to resign." Opposite was his project manager Yuan Ying, only to hear Yuan Ying incredulous. "What did you say?" Zhao Yao repeated, "Sorry manager, I'm going to resign. It just so happens that I still have more than 10 days of annual leave and compensatory leave last year, and this year it's useless. I'm really busy during this time, and I want to ask for it together, and I'll send the leave request email over later." "What?" Zhao Yao sighed and said, "I'm really sorry manager, I plan to resign and start my own business, and after completing the annual leave and compensatory leave, I will come to go through the resignation procedures. Regarding the handover, I will definitely complete it before leaving, so you don't have to worry about me running away. But work, I really don't want to do it again. Sorry, you don't have to be impulsive. The tone on the other side softened suddenly in this way. You have been too tired lately. I will approve the leave email. You have a good rest, and then come to work when you feel that you have almost rested. Zhao Yao was about to answer, but the other party didn't give him a chance and hung up directly. Looking at the mobile phone with his hand disconnected, Zhao Yao sighed. He knew that he had half of the project in his hand, and the other party was probably unwilling to let him go easily. But now he really doesn't have the heart to work anymore. On the other side in the office, Yuanying looked at the phone that hung up and shook her head. These little ghosts now are too irresponsible. They resign at every turn and start a business. After working for more than a year, I have been thinking about entrepreneurship, financing and listing all day long. Do you really think that investors are idiots? I don't know how to work hard for a few years, study the technology, and my eyes are all in the eyes of money. Alas, these young people are really impetuous. Now that the project in her hand is halfway through, Zhao Yao's departure at this time is equivalent to completely slowing down the progress of the project. What's more, employees like Zhao Yao who work hard and complain, have no overtime pay, and are willing to work overtime until 9 or 10 o'clock every day are not so easy to find. Thinking of this, she first tentatively replied to Zhao Yao with a message. When this project is over, I will apply for you to increase your salary, at least 3K or more. Starting a business is not so simple. How many people have hit their heads and bled out? You first precipitate for a few years, and then talk about it when you have accumulation. After sending the message, Yuanying frowned and looked at her phone, but her mind was thinking about what she would do if the other party was still unwilling to go to work. Zhao Yao on the other side didn't pay attention to it after glancing at the news, because the other party had already said too much about such rhetoric. Zhao Yao finished ordering cat food here, and after answering the phone, a message came from the QQ group on the computer. Zhao Yao clicked on it, but it was a message from Xiao Xiyu, a college classmate back then. Tianshang City Garden House, high-rise ground floor, 500 meters away from the subway. Zhao Yao took a look, but it was a real estate advertisement, and with this advertisement, the university group that was still a backwater immediately became active. Goddess Xiao has made real estate. It's amazing. The city is full of good houses in this day, and I will be satisfied with buying a set in my life. It's too, and I guess no one in our group can afford it now. Seeing the QQ group that suddenly became lively, Zhao Yao pouted. The university group was quite lively at first, but as everyone entered the society and started working, the whole group became more and more deserted. Now there may not be a few words of chat in a month, but now with Xiao Xia's news, the entire QQ group is boiling, and Zhao Yao understands that this is the role of beauty. Behind the computer screen on the other side, a girl with exquisite makeup and a ponytail is staring at the chat history on QQ. She has a pair of big eyes, pink skin, it seems to be blown, wearing a uniform but still difficult to hide the bumpy figure. Especially a pair of beautiful legs are straight and slender and powerful, obviously often exercise and lose weight. She is Zhao Yao's college classmate Xiao Xiyu, who is now doing sales in a real estate company. And because of her excellent performance, she was transferred to this project in Heavenly City. However, after a few months, she failed to sell a house, and after gradually feeling the pressure, she began to advertise in her circle of friends and various websites. The messages in the QQ group were also sent by her, and when she saw the replies of her classmates in the university group, she showed a hint of disappointment on her face. However, she also knows that there is no rich second generation in this group. Everyone is a young person who has just come out to work for more than a year. How can they afford these houses? Thinking of this, she began to look at the feedback on other QQ groups and WeChat. Zhao Yao saw this advertisement and thought about his deposit, but clicked on it. Although it is close to the outer ring, the community is at the subway entrance, and the environment and greening are also very good. Well, this large flat of more than 140 square meters is really good. Looking at the layout of the house and the community environment in the photo, Zhao Yao showed a greedy gaze, but looking at the price, he is also powerless. The money in his hand is naturally able to afford this house, but if he buys it and adds taxes, decoration, furniture and various things, I am afraid that there will only be much money left in his hand, which is not in line with his plan. So he does not plan to buy a house in this community, so he looked at the introduction of the house again, but Zhao Yao still gave up. Although this house was too expensive for him, it caused Zhao Yao to think, I'm rich now, shouldn't I buy a bigger house? Zhao Yao was originally a native of Shanghai and had a hukou. It's just that his parents live in the suburbs, and it takes 2.5 hours to come to the company, so he rented a suite near the company for convenience. And being able to buy a house in Shanghai has always been a dream of his, so after a while he began to check the current housing prices in Shanghai on the internet. This look was shocking again. And it was really not an accident to find that such an expensive house in Heavenly City just now. In fact, because he knew that he could afford it anyway, he hadn't paid attention to real estate for too long, and at this glance, he realized that even if he had 10 million in his hand, his Shanghai house was nothing in front of him. Any house in the city center is tens of millions, and if he wants to buy a bigger one, he can only run to Central or even the Outer Ring originally. He thought that 13 million was a lot, but at this moment, Zhao Yao found that if he bought a house, he was afraid that most of the money would be gone. Zhao Yao sighed with emotion. I still want to make more money. Before I knew it, the day passed, And in the afternoon of the next day, Zhao Yao's long-awaited cat food was finally delivered. The courier carried more than a dozen bags of cat food upstairs in sweat, and when he saw Zhao Yao, he couldn't help but complain. "What did you buy?" "Nothing, it's all cat food," sending off the courier with a smile. Zhao Yao couldn't wait to start unpacking. Matcha on the other side was even more excited than him, rushing out of the bedroom and going back and forth around the delivery box. "Cat food, is it the new cat food?" Matcha wrinkled her little nose and mirrored Zhao Yao. "Why did you buy so much cat food? Isn't our family so poor that we can even afford to eat canned food for cats?" Chapter 1009 House. Zhao Yao pouted and said, "Your master is rich now, and you will be regarded as handsome and rich in the cat world in the future." Matcha on the side heard this. His eyes lit up, and he rubbed around Zhao Yao's calf. "Then you can charge my glory of the king with some money. I want to buy skins." Zhao Yao shook his head and said seriously, "What kind of skin to buy? Let me tell you. The skins are all things that rookies buy, and the real masters don't use skins, and they kill the enemy invisibly." Matcha was dissatisfied. "But I'm a rookie. Can you fucking be a little ambitious? Just because you're a rookie now doesn't mean you'll always be a rookie. And if you think about it, everyone will wear skin in the future, but you are the only one who has no skin. Doesn't it make you more special? Is it the only one who wears the skin? But I still want to buy skins, and I can wait until everyone has skins in the future, and then I can take them off." Zhao Yao pulled the corners of his mouth and kicked the matcha away directly. "Don't care about the glory of the king. You taste all these cat foods first and see which one is the best." So next, Zhao Yao opened the cat food one by one, poured out a little and poured it out in front of the matcha for the other party to taste. There are a total of 10 brands and 15 flavors of cat food, some of which are reluctant to eat matcha when they smell it, and some of them are eaten in a few bites, and they still look unsatisfied. However, after matcha tried the cat foods one by one, the book in Zhao Yao's mind shook lightly again and shone brightly. At this time, Zhao Yao looked at those cat foods again, and immediately noticed the difference. Just as he looked at the cat food, a string of evaluations came to his mind. Coarse cat food can barely fill the stomach, but don't expect any benefits for the cat's body. Zhao Yao looked at the cat food on the other side again. Ordinary cat food, while filling the stomach, can also supplement some nutrients, trace elements. Every month you can increase a little experience point. Zhao Yao looked at it like this, swept all the cat food aside, and immediately found that these cat foods were divided into 4 grades: rough, ordinary, excellent, and excellent among them. Rough eating is just to fill the stomach. Ordinary cat food is somewhat nutritious, and every month you eat can increase a little experience point. Adult cats in excellent and well-made cats need more nutrients. Excellent cat food can get a little experience point every 10 days of eating, and fine cat food can get a little experience point every day of eating. And Zhao Yao also found that what matcha likes to eat may not be excellent and well-grade cat food, but maybe with attractants, and what he doesn't like to may not necessarily be coarse, ordinary cat food, but it is not to his taste. Looking at the craving cat food in his hand, this is the only excellent cat food among the 10 brands, and it is also the most expensive cat food. Zhao showed a smile. "Aha, fine cat food. Every day you eat can increase a little experience point. Isn't this not a task? Matcha can be upgraded after 10 days. Although this cat food cost 70 or 80 to buy a catty, it is nothing to Zhao Yao today. Matcha, it was decided that it was a craving, and you would eat this cat food every day in the future." Zhao Yao thought again. Since there is excellent cat food, will there be any epic cat food, mythical cat food? Wouldn't that add more experience? But I look at the cat food on Taobao, and I am eager for the most expensive batch. Thinking of this, Zhao Yao had already made a decision to try to find some better cat food when he had time to make matcha grow a little faster. At the same time, a crisp sound sounded in Zhao Yao's mind, and the task was completed. In an instant, 10 experience points for. On the first page of the book suddenly became vocal video 10 to 100, pet 1 to 1 matcha, level of 1 to 1001, loyalty 100, abilities, time pause, duration 3, cooldown 3. The experience points were added to the book, but at the same time, the plus sign behind the matcha also lit up. Zhao Yao said secretly in his heart, "The experience points are all added to my ability book, and it seems that the experience here can be used to upgrade, and it can also be used to throw it to pets to upgrade." Thinking of this, Zhao Yao immediately pressed the plus sign behind the matcha and instantly added 10 experience points, and the attributes of matcha immediately became pets matcha, level LV2 to add 100, loyalty 100, abilities, time pause, cooldown 3. Seeing that the experience of the second level of upgrading suddenly rose to 100 points, Zhao Yao instantly felt a kind of egg pain, but as matcha rose to the second level, the plus sign behind his ability also lit up. Zhao Yao clicked, and immediately a skill panel jumped out. Zhao Yao took a closer look and found that this was a long string of skill trees. Every time matcha was upgraded, he could choose one from 2 skills and add one, and there was only one skill at the first level. That is, the time stopped, and it had been clicked by default and could no longer be selected. With matcha now upgraded to the second level, the secondary skill tree is open, and he can immediately choose one of the 2 skills to add. However, the skills of the later levels are blurry and completely unclear. I looked at the 2 skills of the second level, which are Vortex of Time, which doubles the duration of time pause, the Void is Tranquil, and the cooldown of the time pause is doubled. Looking at the 2 skills on this skill tree, Zhao Yao frowned and thought for a while. One is to increase the duration, and the other is to shorten the cooldown time. The former can make more behaviors in the time stop state, and the latter can make his time stop more frequent. But he thought about it. If he wanted to really exert the power of shortening the cooldown time again, it represented more frequent time stops and shorter times, which was actually not easy for him to control, especially if the time entered below the second level. It was actually difficult for the human body to accurately sense. Thinking of this, Zhao Yao added skill points to the vortex of time in an instant. The pattern representing the vortex of time lit up, and Zhao Yao also instantly exited the interface of the skill tree, at this time looking at the skill data of matcha. It has become a duration of 6 seconds and a cooldown of 6 seconds. Well, got a long cooldown too. Zhao Yao was slightly stunned. It seems that even if the duration is increased, it will still have to maintain the duration of 1 second, and there is still a second of cooldown. In this way, it may be more useful to reduce the cooldown, but now that he has made his choice, Zhao Yao will not regret it. Looking at LV2's matcha, a smile appeared on the corner of Zhao Yao's mouth. Just then, however, the task panel lit up. Mission: if you want to be strong, a comfortable environment is also important. Goal: buy a property worth more than 10 million yuan for your cat within a month, and equip it with an automatic cat toilet, an automatic cat water dispenser. Reward 20 XP. Failure penalty: the cat cannot gain experience growth for half a year. This punishment is too harsh. Zhao Yao pulled the corners of his mouth, looked at the requirements of 10 million real estate, and couldn't help but sigh. 10 million? I've only been holding it in my hand for a long time and I'm going to smash it out. Zhao Yao glanced at the matcha that was still happily eating cat food at his feet, and couldn't help but complain. What kind of cat should be matched with tens of millions of mansions? No one lives so well. Where is this rich and handsome in the cat world? This is simply Ma Yun in the cat world. Although he was very reluctant in his heart, Zhao Yao knew that he couldn't refuse this task, not only for the 20-point experience reward, but also to prevent matcha from being unable to level up for half a year. Speaking of which, the 10 million real estate. Zhao Yao's mind immediately flashed the Tianshang city community that he had seen in the QQ group before. The price of many of the room types in it is more than 10 million, and Zhao Yao originally liked it very much. But he didn't plan to buy it because the price was too expensive, but now he can just take it. Thinking of this, Zhao Yao logged in directly to QQ, found Xiaoxiu, and sent a message to the past. Are you there? That heavenly city house, I want to buy one. Diddy. Xiaoxiu looked at the QQ message, but there was a surprised expression on her face. Zhao Yao, he still remembers this Zhao Yao. He looks ordinary, and he didn't have any special performance when he was in college. As far as the other party's family background is also very ordinary, and he has worked for about a year after graduation, and according to common sense, he should not be able to afford to buy a property worth tens of millions. Do you want to chase me? After she did real estate sales, it was not that she had never met someone who pursued her in a similar way, so she immediately thought of whether Zhao Yao was this kind of person. But just now I wanted to ignore the other party. And then I thought of my sales performance this month. Xiaoxiu bit her lip. I'll give you a chance. If I find out that you can't afford it, waste my time, and see if I don't scold you to death. Chapter 010: Viewing the House. This episode is complete. Welcome to subscribe. Turn on the small bell forward. Please leave your comments. I will continue to update the content behind.